let's talk about Representative Ayanna Pressley. She is one of the squad alongside such luminaries as AOC, Ilhan Omar, and Rashida Tlaib. And what these people consistently do is they say buzzwords, endless buzzwords that actually mean nothing, but a certain segment of society thinks that because they've said X amount of nonsensical buzzwords, often things that none of us said 4 or 5 years ago, that somehow gives them cachet and value, and it means that they're making sense. And then the media then pushes these things because these are the good guys and they're standing up for all of these groups that they just made up and everything else. And, well, here's Exhibit A.
2021 has been the most devastating for abortion rights in American history. In the midst of an ongoing global pandemic that robbed us of more than 690,000 lives and disproportionately impacted our most vulnerable and Black and brown communities, anti-abortion legislators in 47 states focused on legislating hurt and harm to push this critical health care out of reach. These misguided bans will not actually prevent all abortions. They simply put safe and necessary abortion care out of reach for our most vulnerable, specifically our lowest income sisters, our queer, trans, and non-binary siblings, Black, Latinx, AAPI, immigrants, disabled, and indigenous folks. And none of this is happenstance. It is precise. Like the roots of the anti-abortion movement, these bans are rooted in patriarchy and white supremacy.
God, these people are just ridiculous. Like, where do I start? First off, if we were just playing like meaningless buzzword bingo, it's like, lady, congratulations, you're getting a box of donuts. Like, Jesus Christ. I would love to know how she thinks that queer and gay people are going to be struggling because of these pro-life laws that she says are being pushed. By the way, no one has banned abortion. No one has banned abortion, period. It's against the law because of Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade is a federal law saying that the states cannot make their own decisions related to abortion, that the right to an abortion is a federal law. Now, we can argue whether that's a sane decision or not, or whether it should be kicked back to the states. But even in Texas, which did pass this 6-week law, it's not a ban on abortion. You still have 6 weeks to get an abortion. And again, you guys know my feelings on this. Like, I don't even agree with the 6 weeks thing. But these people, they just say crazy things that, first of all, they keep calling it health care. And it's like, well, it's not really health care. Like, you are killing a baby, right? Like, depends on your definition. I guess it's loosely, it's health care. But, and then, of course, she links it to the patriarchy and white supremacy and the rest of this nonsense. It's affecting Black and Latinx. Like, find me a Latino who says Latinx or Latinx. Please, that would be a pleasure. AAPI, what's that? Asian and Pacific Island or something like that. Immigrants and disabled and indigenous folks. You see how they just say these crazy things? Like, is there some massive problem we're having with disabled people who want to have abortions? Is that really think how stupid that statement is. Like, is there really a problem? Indigenous folks are having huge abortion problems. Like, it's all nonsense. Everything they say is nonsense. But a certain amount of people hear that and they go, my God, our low-income sisters and our queer and trans Latinx, AAPI brothers and sisters, they're hurting, man. We got to do something. By the way, the Democrats voted just in the last couple days, I think we talked about it briefly last week, to pass a bill. It passed 218 to 11, so I guess it didn't actually pass, right? Like, that was just how they voted on it. We'll get a little more info on this. But the Democrats, it's not a law yet, but the Democrats voted 218 to 1 that a woman could have an abortion at any stage in her pregnancy, as long as she had one healthcare professional that said it was okay, and that could include mental health. So you could be at 8 months and be freaking out for good reason. It's a lot of stress to have a kid, and you could be like, all right, I'm gonna have an abortion. Like, that's how extreme these people have become. And it's like, in a sane society, we would have an honest debate about this stuff, and we can, as you know, talk about when the sperm meets the egg, talk about a few weeks where it's mostly just a clump of cells, talk about when the heartbeat starts and all of those things. And I'm pretty well versed in this as we're going through surrogacy. And believe it or not, a couple days in after the sperm meets the egg, you can know the sex. The same people who will tell you to believe in science and that, gender doesn't even exist. And it's like, we know right now we have a certain amount of male embryos and we have a certain amount of female embryos. We don't have a certain amount of, pick your gender embryos. Like, that's not a thing. I'm fairly certain that our guy is a scientist. He's a man of science. Like, he knows what he's doing. He's a fertility doctor. He's not like, you got 10 embryos here. We got 3 male, 3 female, and 4, they'll decide. Like, that's not a thing. It's not a thing. Anyway, these people, they're just bananas.